Arsenal gain a massive 3 points against Liverpool. Arsenal were able to garner the kind of performance Arsenal fans have been crying out for all season. Yes, we've seen the 5-0 win against Crystal Palace, but we've been crying out for a massive statement against the title rival, and that is exactly what Mikel Arteta has delivered in this game. This win was huge. This was the kind of win that is conducive of champions. This is the team, or this is a team performance that can be looked at by Arsenal fans, and we can really start to think and see the vision of Arsenal going on to hopefully lifting that Premier League title this season. And there were so many good things to take from this game. For example, the belief we're going to take going into future games, knowing we've just beat the most informed team in the league. This is a team in Liverpool that has only lost one time this season before this game against Spurs in a game where VAR robbed them. That's the only time they've lost this season. But Arsenal were able to, let's be honest, comfortably and comprehensively defeat them. A 3-1 win is as comprehensive a victory you're going to get over this Liverpool team. But what I liked in this game was that Mikel Arteta was brave in his decisions before the game. He had Eddie Nketiah on the bench. We obviously learned the news that Jesus wasn't going to make this game. He had Nketiah on the bench, who is the option, the second option that he's been going for all season, but he decided to play Havertz in that role, which is what we've been crying out for on this channel. Play Havertz as the striker. If we don't have Jesus, play Havertz as Arsenal's second striker. That is the position that he will flourish in the most. He's not a central midfielder. We lose more in central midfield than we gain when we play Havertz in that position. Havertz as a striker, I've said it all along, I don't mind him in that position because he does have qualities that suit him playing as a centre forward. He's tall, he's big, he does have technical ability, and when he's in the right frame of mind, he does have a finishing ability that is very impressive. Hopefully, Mikel Arteta makes this judgment going forward. I don't mind Havertz in that centre forward role. I would rather us sell Nketiah, and if we are going to go and buy a striker in the summer, keep Havertz, but just stop playing him in centre midfield. But let me know if you agree in the comment section. But the fact that we did play Havertz up front allowed us to play an actual central midfielder in that number 8 position. We played Jorginho there today, and he won man of the match. That's the difference you get when you play a proper centre mid in a game like this. You're not carrying a passenger in Havertz. And I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he just doesn't suit that central midfield role. He doesn't have the tenacity. He doesn't have the strength or the tackling ability needed in the central midfield, to really grab a hold of a game. But when he's up front, he does offer an outlet. He is good in the air. He can hold up the ball. He's not very good with his back to goal, in my opinion, but he can link up the play. Obviously not as good as a Jesus, and he's certainly not as good as Jesus in terms of pressing. But when we played Jorginho in the middle of the park, I think it offered us a new dimension. It allowed Odegaard to stay further forward because he knows he had 2 centre midfielders behind him who probably prefer staying back. We've heard recently Declan Rice, he's come out and said that he wants to make that number 6 position his own. Now, my vision for Rice, or I thought he would go on to be Arsenal's number 8, but he said he would prefer to play that more defensive role. And you can understand why, because Declan Rice, again in this game, was so good. And he is so good defensively. I understand why he wants to play that position. He has played centre-back before, and it shows because he's so good in the tackle, so accurate with his tackles, and that just allowed Odegaard to play in a way that we haven't seen all of this season. Odegaard was staying further forward. In previous games, when Havertz is up there, he sees Havertz making the run forward. So that just makes Odegaard sort of more reluctant to push forward. He sort of drops back. But in this game with Jorginho further behind him, Odegaard had free reign of that full forward centre attacking mid-roll. And he was linking up with Martinelli, linking up with Saka, linking up with Havertz as well. And Odegaard played so well. But Saka again scoring, and his stats are so impressive this season. Some people were calling for Saka to maybe improve his performances. And you can understand why, because maybe he hasn't scored the goals that he did last season in terms of, outside of the area, whipping it into the top left-hand corner. But if you're looking at his stats here, 11 goals and 13 assists, you will struggle to find any player in the league this season with comparable numbers to those. They are very, very impressive from such a young winger who is still developing. This is what a lot of people fail to understand as well. Saka is still a young player who's still developing in the Premier League, and he's putting up these kind of numbers. Saka is a phenom. Saka is such a great player, and it showed in this game. The way he was linking with Ben White, who we will come on to later, we've said recently that maybe Saka's performances need to improve, and that is exactly what happened in this game. So give Saka his props. He played absolutely incredible in this game. But Martinelli as well, if we're looking at his stats, his numbers are creeping up as well. He's now scored 7 goals this season. You know, we're over the halfway mark, but we're not too far over the halfway mark. So if Martinelli carries on with this kind of goal scoring record, you know, he scored a couple in the last couple of games. 7 goals can turn into 15 very quickly. And we was applauding Martinelli last season for getting to that 15 goals. Hopefully he can do it again this season. We shall see. And I think that will improve when Jesus does return. Jesus, before that little injury, which isn't a big one, which is it's a relief. The report is Jesus injury, you know, he should be back, if not the next game, then the game after, which is good. You know, it's handy we don't have a lengthy period of time that Jesus is going to be on the bench. But when Jesus does return, that will improve the performance of Martinelli, because we know these two like playing with each other. They interlink all the time. They're always switching. They have a great understanding of how the other player works. But it just wasn't our attack that was impressive in this game. Our defense was incredible. We limited Liverpool to scoring 0 goals for themselves. They didn't score an open play goal, set piece goal, or anything for themselves. The only goal they managed to score was a Gabriel own goal. You know, Gabriel scored it with his hand. I said it on the live stream. It was a Maradona goal in reverse. He put it in his own net. Such an unfortunate goal. Wasn't really Gabriel's fault. He didn't know anything about it. He was trying to track the attacker, and as the Liverpool whipped it in, it just come off his arm, and as he was turning, it just went in the net. Bit of a scrappy goal, but I don't put Saliba or Gabriel at fault for that goal. I think it was David Raya, which we'll come on to in a bit. But our defense was really, really good. Now, it's probably a bit concerning that Zinchenko had to go off at halftime. We don't know the extent of that injury yet. We'll probably get an update, you know, hopefully today or tomorrow, and we will keep you informed. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything. But defensively, we was good. Kiwi will come on in the second half, and he's not as good as Zinchenko going forward. We know that. We understand that. We're not getting the same level of technical ability in the middle of the park when Kiwi is asked to play that same position or do that same role that Zinchenko does do. Defensively, he's good. He's still learning. I mean, I'm probably guilty of being slightly harsh on Kiwi lately. You know, it's easy to forget sometimes that this is only a 20 or 21-year-old centre-back, first season in the Premier League. So maybe we should just give Kiwior a bit of time to settle into that position. And it's not even his position. Let's not forget that. Kiwior was brought in as a centre-back. We've only had to use him in left-back because we're limited in numbers in that area. So that's why it was such great news when we heard that Tomiyasu was returning from the Asia Cup, because he is a very important player in this Arsenal setup. And it was even better news when we heard the news today, in fact, of Fabrizio Romano confirming that Tomiyasu has renewed his Arsenal contract. So this is a player that we can still expect to be at the Emirates in a few years' time, which is brilliant, because there's been multiple reports this season linking Tomiyasu with a move away from Arsenal. And that would be massively detrimental to this squad. Tomiyasu is a fantastic player. He's probably good enough to start. So the fact we've been able to sign him to a new contract with the understanding that he will probably be a rotation player. You know, he hasn't yet been able to nail down a position in this starting 11. So he must be happy enough with the game time, because I can't see that changing in the future. And if anything, his game time may become more limited when we get the return of Jurgen Timber, who I think will go on to be Arsenal's full-time left-back. But that is such great news that Tomiyasu has decided to renew his contract. And then that leaves us on to David Raya. And I thought he started the game well. And I've liked watching David Raya recently. You know, I think the argument between Ramsdale and Raya really settled down, and it just allowed Raya to really play some of his best stuff that he has done in an Arsenal shirt this season. You know, we saw flashbacks of the Brentford David Raya. We saw what kind of player and what attributes he does offer to this Arsenal team. But that goal yesterday, I didn't really understand it. Saliba was kind of, you know, he was holding off the Liverpool player. And all David Raya, in my opinion, had to do was just grab it and pick it up. But he sort of hesitated, and then that allowed it to whip it in. And then that's how Gabriel scored the own goal. So I do put David Raya at fault for that goal. Hopefully it's just a blip. I thought we was past this period of David Raya making mistakes, so we'll have to see what happens in the next game. But to be fair, if that is the only mistake that David Raya made in that game, you know, Arsenal still win 3-1. So maybe we shouldn't be putting too much pressure on David Raya. But hopefully, like I said, this is a one-off again, and it doesn't keep happening and repeating itself. And hopefully it doesn't make him lose confidence going forward. And then that leads us on to Mikel Arteta, who put on an absolute masterclass against Klopp. You know, in this game, maybe we did sit slightly deeper and let Liverpool come onto us, but the way we countered them, you know, was straight off the training ground. The way we got it out to Martinelli as quick as possible, because we know he has so much success against Trent Alexander-Arnold. Mikel Arteta must have identified that, because every time there was a break, Martinelli seemed to be one of the furthest players forward. Play it out to Martinelli, beats Trent every time, and then that allowed him to either cross the ball back into Odegaard, who was waiting, or even switch it to the other side with Saka. So Mikel Arteta got his tactics spot on here. A lot of talk in the media in the run-up to this game saying, oh, I don't know if Mikel Arteta's the guy that can lead Arsenal to trophies. Well, with performances like this, you can't deny that this is a manager who does have the capacity to go on and do great things in football. He's just outsmarted one of the great managers in football. But I would love to know everyone's thoughts and opinions on everything you've heard in this video. What was your thoughts on the game? What did you think of the performances of players like Martinelli, Odegaard, even Jorginho, Saka scoring another goal? Let me know your thoughts. Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. Before you go, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And like I said, this is how we're going to be doing our videos all the time now. No more pictures, no more videos. We're in the studio. Every single daily Arsenal video will be coming to you in this format, and we will be watching all of the games live as well. So make sure you're subscribed for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.